ado, take it away, Guillaume.
Thanks, Kim, and thanks for Diane for hosting as well. It's always fantastic to be able to present with our travel partners. My name is Guillaume Cameron. I work with Oceania Cruises as a business development manager. I assist our wonderful partners here at Seven Seas to Sea. And I always like to start off my presentations. Now, this last year, actually, a lot of our presentations was kind of obviously focused about when we will eventually get back to travel, and definitely things are moving in a very positive direction recently. Obviously, there's still a little bit of time to go before we're completely announcing things. I'll cover this a little bit in the presentation, and if anybody does have questions at the end, I'm more than happy to help out. But as you can tell, my last name's Cameron. I grew up in Scotland. I like to start off my presentations with a little quote from Robert Louis Stevenson. He says, "I travel not to go anywhere, but to go. I travel for travel's sake. The great affair is to move." Now, one of the things with Robert Louis Stevenson, obviously very famous for creating great novels like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Treasure Island. But a little known fact, he was actually a travel writer. And that was one of the big passions that he had. And he would write back to the newspapers in the day. And, many people at that time kind of thought it was like the golden age of travel at that point. But really, right now, we have options more than any time before in our history to be able to get to places. It's easier to travel to places than ever before. So we really do thank our travel partners in assisting us in getting you guys out to create or to experience these wonderful products that we have. So obviously, the kind of big elephant in the room recently has been the COVID thing. And one of the things with Oceania Cruises, I can safe to say is that as we're traveling or as we progress into this kind of post-COVID world, many of the practices that we have on Oceania already lent themselves very well into this post-COVID world. Just small examples like, our buffet was always zero touch, or it was our servers that would serve you. So, you wouldn't have 20 people touching the soup ladle before you got to the soup, that kind of thing. But as we move forward, obviously we've progressed with quite a few different things. We're not quite at the stage of announcing exact specifics of how we're going to get back into the water. We have a general idea, so for any further information, we'll refer you through to what we call our Oceania health page, and it's what we call Safe to Sail, where we're working closely with the CDC to develop a program to get back to healthy sailing. All those details can be found at oceaniacruises.com/health. Those are going to be examples of us completely replacing all our air filtration systems with HEPA health grade filters, through to how we're going to embark, and through to our policy towards our vaccination program. So a lot more details to be found there. I could probably do a whole presentation on myself about how we're going to get back to that. But one of the things that we do want to kind of stay true to is that as we do get back to sail to service, a lot of guests are very eager to find out what exactly we're doing. We're trying to keep our itineraries as true to what they are currently. So that's why you've not really heard of us putting out any new itineraries. We're just trying to keep as original to those as possible. And that's how we're really moving forward when it comes to that. More basically, as more information comes around, our wonderful travel partners will be able to share those specific details with you. Now, one of the things that I wanted to usually start with, and this is usually how Oceania fits into the kind of overall brand position. And this kind of gives a little bit of an idea of how we were created. So Oceania ourselves, we were created 18 years ago now, back in the early 2000s. And one of the things that Oceania tried to do was really find a little niche in the marketplace to fit in where we appeal to a specific kind of set of clientele. Now, one of the things we wanted to really kind of focus ourselves in on was providing absolutely fantastic level of service, giving just a little bit more than what some of the premium lines were used to, but at the same time, not needing to give our guests quite as much hand-holding as the full-on luxury lines that are completely all-inclusive. One of the things that we kind of say is we're inclusive by choice, and it generally appeals to a lot of our guests You know, for example, we're not a completely all-inclusive line when it comes to liquor, but that's generally because most of our guests are going to be out and about in the port during the day. So they're not necessarily, you know, hankering after that 2 in the afternoon cocktail. You know, our guests themselves, we offer shore excursion packages in different ports, but we don't offer them in every single port as our standard package. Because again, that appeals to our guests. Our guests are kind of what we call a curious traveler. Often they want to do their own thing. They want to explore on their own. So we have that little bit more intrepid feel to us over and above. And really the three things that we wanted to excel on, and a little bit of the message today is what we brand ourselves on, or what we call our 3 pillars. And that's our small ship luxury, our exquisitely crafted cuisine, and our fantastic curated travel experience. Now, a little bit of the issue here is that every cruise line out there is going to tell you how fantastic their ships are. Every cruise line is going to talk about the fantastic ports of call they go to, and especially every cruise line is going to talk about how great their food is. So today I wanted to run you through a little bit of the difference with Oceania and how we want to really create memories around these 3 things to deliver an experience over and above that you're going to find elsewhere. So I'll start off with our small ship luxury. At the moment, we have 6 ships currently in our fleet that are made up of the Regatta class, which have the Regatta, the Nautica, the Insignia, and the Serena. And as you can see at capacity, we're only at 684 guests. What this means to you on board is that there's no lineups. You have a safe, manageable amount of people to be with. There's an attention to detail when it comes to the service on board. And that really kind of delivers in that. One of the things, really just think of us as almost like a boutique hotel at sea. We get you to the destination. Now, one of the things I always tend to say, and I actually used to work on ships many years ago, and to see the technology move forward these days, the ships seem to be getting larger and larger. There's more people than ever before that are going onto these vessels, and they're almost becoming the destination unto themselves. For us, the destination is always going to be the destination, but we want you to get there in a relaxed manner. And these ships really cater into that. As you can see, we're almost at 1.5 to 1 for our guest to crew ratio. And it's funny, one of the things that we always tend to have with our guests is that they'll always come back with small memories or small experiences that make a big difference to them. So, I mean, it's small things like, you know, our baristas. You know, if you're or if you're after like a double shot espresso in the morning, the second morning you come back, order the same thing. The third morning, our barista is going to be like double shot espresso for you, sir. And it's those small attention to details. You know, if you're having, say, a steak and you're ordering green mustard with it, and you order a steak another time because they're so fantastic, you're probably going to get green mustard with it. It's and again, a lot of the time it goes into our service, but the way that these ships have also been designed. The 2 other ships in our vessel that were actually custom made for us, there's our Oceania class, and that's the Marina and the Riviera. Those are 1,250 guests at maximum occupancy as well. And here you can really see it's 1.5 to 1 guests to crew ratio. Again, as a former crew member, it's an awful lot easier looking after 1.5 of you than it is looking after 1 in 4. And really the way that these ships have been designed is what we call a residential design. What that means is that we pay particular attention to the detail that we have on the ship. We're not going out, we're not going to order 3,000 deck chairs or 3,000 sofas because we get a big discount on those. No, we're trying to match a beautiful social area on board. One of the things that you'll tend to find with Oceania, and especially, is that we really appeal to a lot of like-minded people. So there's always conversations happening on our vessels. People, you know, it's almost like everybody's traveling in a large group together because they all have common interests. They're all chatting towards one another as well. And the way that we design the vessels themselves, you know, we want them to have a feel that's maybe closely matched to your own home. You know, we've got a beautiful library on our Regatta class ships that actually have a fireplace on them. Now, those fireplaces don't work, but they're there to kind of create an ambiance for you to sit beside that fireplace and relax and read your favorite book. And also a little bit in how we measure up against some of our other vessels out there, or other competitors out there. Our vessels can do things that simply the small ships can only do. We're the ship that's going to be beside the Hermitage in St. Petersburg because we're small enough to get there. We try and get you into the heart of the action as often as we can. We're not the vessel that has to be 35 minutes outside of the city centre because our ship's simply too big to get in there. We're small enough even to get up the Amazon, for example, to give you an idea. And that's even our biggest vessel as well. And overall, we want that level of comfort for you to be able to be in these on our vessels. So we have beautifully curated staterooms for you to be able to travel in style and relax. Again, a little small thing. I was lucky enough to be able to be on a cruise a couple of years ago. And the small thing for my wife was like, oh my goodness, you actually have a full-on tub in your bathroom there. It's not the usual pokey little bathroom that we have. So she was pretty impressed by that. Another thing as well is actually on our, and again, personal attention to detail. Our owner, Frank Del Rio, has a great affinity for art. We actually have personalized curated collections from Frank that include original Monets, original Dalí's, original Picasso artwork there. We actually have roughly around about $7 million worth of art on board the Oceania class of vessels. And it's not to say that everybody has $7 million worth of art sitting at home, but it's definitely something our guests can enjoy. You can actually do a tour of the artwork that we have on board as well, because, those common interests that a lot of our guests have. One of the things that we're bringing in as well is our new Aquamar and Spa Vitality Center. I wanted to chat a little bit about this today, in that one of the things we're doing is we're trying to curate like a wellness program that is incorporated throughout the vessel. So this also goes into some of the menu choices that you'll find in our restaurants. It'll go into the experience that you can actually have on shore excursions as well, be it, meditation and beach in Thailand, or you're doing yoga and Pilates in the Caribbean, or even like, for example, kayaking, active kayaking in Alaskan waters. So it's a new thing that we're bringing out. It's going to be brand new to us because originally we were supposed to roll it out for last year, but it's going to be something absolutely brand new. Fantastic spa centers. And again, we want you to enjoy the experience. So access into our spa is actually included in the cost of the cruise. Beyond that, and just a little sneak peek here, and it's been a very exciting thing for us, is actually, it's going to be the first time in almost 12 years that we're going to be building a new vessel. We're building a new, what we call a Lura class. We actually just announced our new naming. So we'll be bringing out the Oceania Vista for sailing in 2023. So please keep in touch with your travel advisors, because that's going to be the next big announcement with Oceania Cruises. These are some artistic impressions of what they're going to look like. They're going to be similar size to our Oceania class, but actually carry less guests. So again, more service details for that. And again, just to give you a little impression, this is an impression of what our new dining room is going to look like. So, again, just an absolutely stunning place to dine in, to inspire you, to create that memory for you. And as mentioned, it really is all tied in with the excellent service that we have on board. One of the things that always, we have our guests come back year in, year out, just purely because of the great relationships that they create with our crew on board. They really tie that whole experience on board together. And it's those small differences that are really delivered with Oceania, and these guys really tie it in for us. I'll move on to our exquisitely crafted cuisine. And if you don't know a lot about Oceania, that's definitely one thing that Oceania is always renowned for, is their exquisitely crafted cuisine. Even beyond to some of the luxury lines, we win awards year in, year out. And unless you've tasted the food with Oceania, it's a very kind of personal thing in that, it's an intangible. So unless you've tasted it, it's hard to kind of get across on how we try and deliver with the cuisine. But I'll start off with our team. And one of the things that we have is we feel that we have some of the absolute best chefs at sea to be able to deliver that experience. Up in the top right-hand corner is Monsieur Jacques Pepin, one of the first celebrity chefs, kind of famous from that Julia Child era. He oversees the executive menu and our grand dining room. And actually at Oceania, one of the things that's important to us is Jacques himself is a master chef, of which I think there's maybe around about 400 or 500 in the world entirely. At Oceania, we employ 3 master chefs to oversee our menus. And additionally to that, I'll kind of go back to some of the stats that we were talking about with the crew that we have on board. So, for example, the Oceania class, where we have 1,250 passengers, we have roughly around about 800 crew. And of that 800 crew, we have about half of them dedicated to the kitchen side alone. One of the things that we do is we also cook à la minute. So what that means is that we don't have to cater to 3,000 or 4,000 passengers in an evening. So for us to be able to be ready at 6 o'clock at night, we need to start prepping at 6 in the morning. Cooking à la minute means that when your waiter takes your order and takes it into the kitchen, that's where and when the meal is being prepared for you. It goes into the taste difference, and additionally to that is our ingredients. As a cruise line, we spend more on ingredients than any other cruise line out there. We will try and source locally as much as we can. We'll order fresh lobster from the same family in Maine that year in, year out. We will also bring in fresh French flour from the Ancho mill and just outside of Paris, so that we can make fresh French pastries and baguettes from scratch every single day. And again, it goes into making that real big difference for that experience. Not only that, it's our setting that we have. One of the things with Oceania, it's quite a common misconception, is that because our price point is maybe slightly higher than some of the premium lines, a lot of people will kind of associate that with more formality. At Oceania, we don't actually have any formal nights. When you want to eat is available to you. We have open seating dining. We want you to also enjoy the experience. So all our specialty restaurants do not come with an additional charge. They're included in the cost of the cruise. We want you to experience the fantastic cuisine that we have. That, all we ask for is for a reservation at those specialty dinings. Again, it's just an absolute fantastic experience. Again, it goes into our mindset for our guests. If you're having a long day out at Rome and you're coming back later in the evening, you might need to have your dinner at 8:30 at night. The following day, because you've had that long day, you might be a little bit tired out, so you might want to have dinner at 5. We have that open option for you to be able to pick and choose where you need to dine. So again, some absolutely fantastic dining venues on board. But for the sake of time, I'm actually going to focus a little bit more on our curated travel experience here, and I'm going to take you for a little trip around the world. At Oceania, we're really famous for the fantastic different types of itineraries we have. These will span all 7 continents, as we're going to be making some ports of call for the very first time into Antarctica next year, which is really exciting for us. But again, we're going into these unique ports of call. Again, an experience that was very important to our owner, Frank Del Rio, and that we wanted to go for voyages that are ranging from as little as 7 days all the way up to our world cruise of 180 days. We're visiting over 100 different countries throughout the world. Important to our owner was that we were visiting these marquee ports of call, or these boutique ports of call, and again, trying to deliver that slightly different experience. Actually, a good example of this is myself. I'm based in Vancouver, BC. You'll hardly ever see Oceania in Vancouver over the course of the weekend. Why? Because that's when everybody else is here. We want you to experience it in a slightly different manner, in a less crowded manner. So we'll usually tend to be here on a Wednesday or a Thursday when we're either the only ship in there or one other ships. Again, we're getting you in the heart of the destination because of the different styles of ship that we have. I'll give you a very typical type of Mediterranean itinerary that we were really famous for. Visiting in some fantastic small ports of call like Ajaccio on Corsica. We're going into Monte Carlo. We're not 15 minutes outside of town in Villefranche. We're actually in Monte Carlo. We're small enough to be able to go into Dubrovnik. Again, we're going in to be able to sail into these small ports of call like Qatar. And one of the things we'll also try and do is, as you can see here, on a 12-day itinerary, we're only having 1 day at sea. It's important for our guests to be able to have that opportunity to visit all these different destinations. And again, just another slight way that we try to incorporate the local culture into our destinations, is that some of the entertainment that we'll have on board is that we'll have, for example, like edutainment, so a very kind of TED Talk style, where we'll have specific lecturers, for example, talk about ancient Greece and ancient Rome, to incorporate that. If we're in, say, South America, we might be having tango dancers on board as part of that entertainment to incorporate that localness. One itinerary that particularly stood out for me, and I wanted to add it in, is we're actually going to be going back into Odessa for next year. We're going into the Black Sea. It's a destination that we used to go to maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. So even though it's kind of an old destination for us, it's a brand new destination for us for next year. So it's really exciting. We're going back into the Black Sea as well. And again, something that we try and deliver slightly differently on is we'll go into these off the beaten path ports of call. So again, this is a fantastic example here that we're starting over in Oslo. We're doing the Baltic itinerary. We're going up into Norway, all the way up into the Arctic Circle and North Cape. But we're actually visiting not only St. Petersburg in Russia, but we're going into Archangel in Russia, which was a really important port of call for the Russians. So a little bit off the beaten path. You know, again, this is a great example here as well. We're going into Greenland and into Iceland. Some beautiful sailings here. And some of these sailings here as well, you're seeing that, you know, we're at 30 plus days with this sailing. And one of the trends that we're really finding right now, and obviously people have not been able to travel in the last 2 years, or a year and a half, should I say, is that people, because they've missed that opportunity, are taking longer sailings than ever before because they want to make up for what they've missed out on. And one of the nice things with Oceania is that you can actually work with your travel advisor and they can piece together back-to-back itineraries that, you know, even if you want to add on to that in 2 days, you can make a really interesting itinerary out of New York with this one. I know previous Reykjavik was like the #1 destination that it seemed to be for a lot of Canadians to be traveling to. And, you know, it's a really wild landscape, and with all the volcanic you know, geology going on there. And actually, one of the things with Oceania, and again, how we slightly deliver on a different style thing, is that we allow, we include in the cost of our sailings the airfare. But one of the things you can do for a small additional cost is you can extend the airfare. And one of the ones that we saw that has been most popular for this is our round trip Ireland sailing, where we've got a lot of people with heritage from back in Ireland that they're going to fly in 3 weeks early into Dublin. They're going to do a little tour of the inside of Ireland. And then afterwards, they'll take the cruise. So that's a different type of option you're able to do with us. Again, maybe going a little bit off the beaten path here and a longer sailing for us, but this is our sailing from Cape Town, going all up the west coast of Africa. We're going into Walvis Bay to see the amazing sand dunes in Namibia. We're going into Dakar, where it's really famous for the rally, and then heading up into, you know, Europe, going through Portugal and up into France, and then making our way through Ireland, back through St. John's, and ending up in New York. So again, a slightly different off the beaten path. I know, and always a very popular itinerary with us is, especially with Canadians coming off, you know, a long winter, is Tahiti. And one of the things they say about Tahiti, it's only 1.5 cocktails past Hawaii there. So it's a good consideration to have. We have overnights happening here in Papeete. We've got an overnight in Moorea and an overnight in Bora Bora on this 10-night sailing. And it's just, you know, 2 million square miles of France in the middle of this South Pacific. Something that a lot of our guests are really interested in at the moment too. But we do some really interesting sailings that will go throughout, you know, into the South Pacific, going slightly farther. So we're visiting like New Caledonia, Vanuatu, and heading out of Auckland. Again, this is a really popular one for pre and post extensions as well. And again, I'm just kind of maybe going a little bit overboard with some of these sailings here, but this is our Ring of Fire sailing here. As you can see, heading out of LA, going through the south coast and into the west coast of Australia, which not many cruise lines tend to do. So we're getting into Perth and Exmouth, which, you know, it's a really off the beaten path again for a lot of cruise lines there as well. Going up through Southeast Asia, through Kota Kinabalu and Borneo, then ending up all the way in Tokyo. Again, beautiful itinerary. And one that I mentioned a little earlier here as well is our South America and Antarctic sailing. It's going to be the first time that we're going to the Antarctic. It's really exciting for us to be able to go this far down south to basically to the tip of the world with Ushuaia, but then sailing back up through the Chilean fjords and finishing up in Santiago. And then, as I mentioned earlier as well, because of the size of our ships, we're able to actually cruise 7 full days on the Amazon here. It's a round trip sailing in November of next year. And going into really small ports of call all the way through up into Manaus in Brazil. And again, just a super interesting, different type of itinerary. Some closer to home sailings, which again are very popular at the moment. We're going to be having our Alaska sailings for next year. Going into smaller ports of calls like Huna and Haines, not doing your typical, just in the Ketchikan and Juneau and then back through. So again, the opportunity to visit the beautiful West Coast here, but then flipping on over to the other side of Canada here and we're small enough where we actually can sail into Montreal. Most cruise lines have to stop at Quebec City because they can't get under the bridge. But we have this beautiful Montreal to New York sailing to see the fall colors. They're always really, really popular. One thing that I always say is Canadians don't take enough advantage of their own country. And I highly recommend this. I personally did this sailing, and it's just beautiful ports of call, Sydney, Halifax. Bar Harbour is fantastic as well. If you get the chance to have the lobster there, highly recommend that too. And I know Diane was really interested and wanted to chat about our around the world cruise. It's our crown jewel, 180 days around the world. And I'm going to just show you the itinerary here. And to let you know, there is an awful lot of demand right now with Oceania. Obviously, there's been people that have not been able to travel for quite a while. Our around the world cruise of 180 days sold out in 1 day. It is, as I say, our crown jewel. It has an awful lot of interest here. We start out of San Francisco. We head our way down through South America, again through that west coast of Africa. We go back up through into the Middle East, coming through India. We have some really fantastic exclusives when you do take this around the world cruise. We're visiting 4 continents this time around, almost 100 ports with 20 overnights. And again, it's important for our guests to be able to establish that. And it's interesting as well. One of the things we also really take care of as well is that we have guests on obviously for 6 months. How do we keep the availability of that menu fresh? So it's one thing that we constantly try and work on, is that we understand that guests are on board for 6 months in a row and they don't want to be eating the same menu every 2 weeks. So we are constantly changing that up. Our chefs will go out into the local markets to source local foods, so that will change up the menu consistently. But again, it's our absolute crown jewel. But additionally to this is what we deliver whilst you're in destination as well, through our excursions program as well. We have over 3,000 different types of tours. Again, I mentioned that we were working with our wellness tours to do something a little bit different with that. We're also doing something called our Go Local tours, which gives you the opportunity to travel in very small groups to locals within that destination to experience the local culture. So that be it, for example, you're going truffle hunting with locals in the south of France, where they'll take you into the forest with their dogs and they'll hunt the truffles. We'll have you going into a Tuscan farmhouse and cooking pasta with grandma and learning the secret way that she does the sauce, to experience a little bit more of an immersive destination. Oceania, obviously, a big thing for us is our cuisine, but additionally to that as well, we're partnered with Wine Spectator, so we have a whole bunch of different opportunities when it comes to food and wine tours as well. And then we have different types of excursions that can, go all exclusive, so in St. Petersburg, we'll give you access to private rooms and the Hermitage after public hours, so that, again, that gives you that exclusive experience as well. So how does those 3 things all tie up? And that's through our ultimate value. One thing at Oceania, and this is where your advisors can really help you out, is that we have one standard offer, which is called All Life Choice. It gives you airfare included in the cost of your cruise. It gives you the choice of either choosing a shore excursion package or a beverage package or a shipboard credit. Additionally to this as well, we're actually included free round trip airfare, airport transfers included in the cost of the cruise as well. We have a lot of exclusive when we launch new itineraries to book up into premium economy, but included in the cost of the cruise. And again, this goes into a little bit of you relaxing whilst you're on this sailing, is that we will also include our internet as part of the cruise. People want to stay connected these days. They want to share the experience with family back at home. So it's something that we already include in the cruise. As mentioned, we also include our specialty restaurants. That would include like our famous Polo Grill, where you can have like a 32-ounce porter steak at no cost whatsoever. And even if you're still hankering after a cheeseburger at 2 a.m, we have our 24-hour a day room service as well. If we're never in the center of town, we will also provide free free shuttles into the city center. A good example of this is actually in Venice. So we're in the port of Venice. People want to go to St. Mark's Square. What we'll actually do is we'll lower our tenders into the water and we'll ferry people back and forth to St. Mark's Square because that's where they want to be, because there's a bit of a distance between the two. Additionally, fitness classes are included. So if you are having that 32-ounce porter steak, you can work it off a little bit. That might be a Pilates class. There's lots of different options there as well. And one thing that we did launch actually just prior to us putting a pause on operations is our new fountain water system, where we've actually eliminated up to 3 million plastic bottles of water. We replaced that with a glass filtration system where there's fountains located throughout the ship, and it's our what we call our Vero water system as well. And again, small things like all your non-alcoholic drinks are included in the cost of the cruise. So, if you need a little cappuccino or, you want a smoothie in the morning, that's already included in the cost of the cruise. The less you're taking out your key card to pay for those little extras, the more that you can relax whilst on board. And it's an important mantra for Oceania as well. And even small things like a laundrette. And this is my small thing. Whenever I go on a cruise, I like to bring a shirt, and I can never iron the shirt, and I hate having to pay $7 to get somebody else to iron my shirt. So I can go into the laundrette and iron my own shirt. So that's my small little thing with Oceania Cruises. Additionally to that, work with Diane at Seven Seas to Sea. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one for sure. She's partnered with Travel Professionals International, which are part of the Virtuoso group, which gives access to a number of different sailings throughout our numerous itineraries where there's many prepaid gratuities. We work closely with Virtuoso as well to include different types of savings as well. And as a thank you for attending today and taking a little bit of your time out, if you decide to book within the next 2 weeks, one of the things is that we'll offer an additional $200 shipboard credit as a thank you for attending today. This would be on any veranda or above stateroom. Work with Diane, work with Kim, and I'm happy to offer that as a thank you for doing that. One thing that I will definitely mention as well, and whatever position you are in, and wherever you are, and hope that you're staying safe. Be ready to come back to sailing. It's one of the things I work with a lot of, obviously a lot of people here in Canada, but I also work with a lot of Americans, and it's amazing to see slightly the difference about the amount of Americans that are booking on board. I hate to say it, but it's almost a little bit of a rush for space to get back onto 2022. We're going to be announcing new itineraries come the fall, but one of the things I almost think we're going to be sold out for 2022 when it comes at that point there as well. One of the things at Oceania, we have fully refundable deposits. So even if you do put your money down at the moment and you're not completely sure of that, you have up until 90 days prior to the sailing to change your mind at no penalty whatsoever. So please do consider us. I hope that the explanation that I've given you a little bit and our difference today might convince you to come and join us. We would love to welcome you back to sailing. It's a fantastic opportunity. We create such great memories. So thank you so much for being able to attend today. Kim, if there's anybody with any questions, I'd be happy to take those if you do. Otherwise, thank you so much for today.
Perfect. Thank you. Wow, that was wonderful, Guillaume. Thanks so much, Guillaume, and to everybody attending for choosing this time this afternoon to spend together with us. And I myself, I'm a cruiser, and you know, there's so much I had forgotten about all the gorgeous itineraries that Oceania has. So I really enjoyed refreshing my mind as well. I don't see any specific questions, but Diane has said any questions that anybody might have to just let her know, and she'll make sure that she gets them answered for you, for everybody participating. Or if anybody just wants simply some more information, just fire off a message to Diane and she'll take care of you. So once again, thank you so very much for the wonderful presentation. We appreciate you taking the time, and yeah, I can't wait to get on board.
Yeah, we're looking forward to welcoming anybody back. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.